Scotland are coming down here to the Pacific in their summer internationals, folks. Going to be winter down here, but we will welcome the Scots with open arms as they prepare for their 3 matches up against the Māori All Blacks, Fiji and Samoa. We'll go through the squad, which Gregor Townsend has named. I think there are a few kind of interesting areas of the squad in terms of the depth, age, experience, playing style and whatnot. Some of the omissions, what are the expectations, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how the Scots will go on their tour down this neck of the woods. Now, the first thing which I'm thinking of with regards to this tour is honestly world ranking points. This seems like the most boring thing because people always tell me the Rugby World Rankings points don't matter, nobody cares about them. Well, the one time they do matter is for the Rugby World Cup draw, which is being held after the November tests this year and before the Six Nations next year. So whatever your ranking is come the end of the November tests, that's where you will be seeded for the next World Cup. The Scots are currently in 7th, which make them the top of the second seed sides. They would much rather be in 6th spot because then you become a top seed and you avoid the likes of New Zealand, South Africa, France, Ireland in your pool. The Scots, looking at that last World Cup draw, could certainly use a favour in that regard because they had it pretty rough at the last World Cup. So they can't take any World Rankings points in their first match because they are playing the Māori All Blacks. That is going to be an interesting match because the Scottish guys will still be coming together without their British and Irish Lions players at the time. And the Māori All Blacks is also a team which traditionally doesn't have a heck of a lot of time to prepare. It's a little bit kind of got a Barbars feel about it in that regard, but it should be an entertaining game, and it'll be interesting to see a Scottish side playing an All Black side, even if it's not the All Blacks, if it's the Māori All Blacks, here on New Zealand soil at the start of July. Then they head away to Fiji. That's the key game for Rugby World Ranking points, because Scotland can genuinely take a chunk of points off Fiji if they win that game, because they'll be playing away from home. Scotland is 7th, Fiji are 9th. There's a decent chance for Scotland to take some points here. They're not going to take much off the Samoans. The Samoans, if they win the Scots, the Samoans are down on 14th. The gap is almost so extreme that they can't take much from that game. Maybe if they beat the Fijians, maybe not anything. It'll kind of depend on how the result plays out. But the Fiji game is the must-win game. If you drop that game, then you're falling even further behind that crucial 6th spot. So that are the fixtures list for the Scots this coming tour. For the squad itself, the props are the first thing that got my attention because with no Xander Fagerson being injured and no Piers Schoolman off with the Lions, that's your 2 main starting props gone. And the Scots are one of those teams which leans a bit more heavily on their starting props than some of the other sides around the world. Like Will Hurd, I think, had 44 minutes or so in the Six Nations from the bench behind Xander. Didn't even get off the bench in the last game. And then, like Loosehead, I assume Sutherland is starting. He was the regular backup guy in this Six Nations just gone. You've had, like, Hepburn, I think, got 1 start. No, Macbeth got 1 start last year, and then Hepburn was the sub last year. So there's a whole bunch of guys who've played the sub role, the backup role, and then you got Finn Richardson, who's one of the uncapped guys. But yeah, there's a test of Scotland's depth at prop coming on this tour. The Fijians and the Samoans, plus whatever side the Māori All Blacks field, will have some decently good props amongst them. I'm not sure you can look at any of those 3 squads the same way you look at like a South Africa or a France, but yeah, it'll be an interesting test of where the Scottish second tier kind of props are at, and also a decent chance just to build a bit of experience because the way the game played these days, it is harder to get a prop who has to go 70, 80 minutes, although some of them still do it. The second row you feel like is largely pretty stable. Grant Gilchrist is still going to be the kind of veteran there. He's the oldest guy in the squad. He's the most experienced guy in the squad at 34 and 80 caps. He's also the kind of key line-out man. He's the most disruptive guy at line-out time and stealing opposition ball. And he's got some much less experienced guys around him, with Cummings off with the Lions and the likes of Henderson and Sykes and Williamson and Gregor Brown and whatnot. All these guys are very much at the opposite end of the experience scale. So again, a bit of a chance for depth building, when you've got no Richie Gray or Johnny Gray or all these other guys who you're used to seeing in that Scottish second row. But you do like Marshall Sykes, heck of a tackling game, big dominant tackles, also useful at line-out time as well. So yeah, I will be interested to see what kind of lock-in duo Gregor goes with on this tour. Then the back row has never been an area of issue for the Scots in recent years. You guys have got plenty of good back rowers. Darge is going to captain the side. He's a massive tackling machine. You got Muncaster there, massive tackling machine. You got Jamie Ritchie, who's a massive turnover merchant. Maybe sometimes gets pinged a little bit, but that's his job, is to try and win those kind of 50-50 balls on the floor. And then there's this uncapped guy, Alex Masibaka. I remember he was in the squad for the Six Nations but didn't get himself a cap. The big number 8 who plays over in the Pro D2. Aussie-born, Fijian and Scottish parents. So he's eligible for a few countries, but he is in the Scottish squad once again. I've had a look at his numbers in the D2. Not that I've seen him play, but he seems to be a big try-scoring, turnover-winning, ball-carrying number 8. So, with no Dempsey in the squad, with him being injured, it's a chance for somebody else to get a crack and maybe fill that role as the big ball carrier. But there's certainly a lot of tackling in this. Josh Baylor's also another useful line-out option in the back row if they pick him to start. So I think you'd be reasonably happy with the forwards. But like I said, the big test is going to come at scrum time for the Scots. The average age is only 27 for the forwards, which is not old. And the average number of caps is only 19, which is really inexperienced in the scheme of things for these forwards. For the backs, it's actually even slightly younger and slightly less experienced. George Horn and Kyle Steyn are the only backs who hit 30 years old. Those are the old boys. And I feel like there's a lot of creativity and a lot of attacking prowess amongst these Scottish backs. You're looking at Jamie Dobby and George Horn. Dobby's obviously the versatile guy who can cover wing and cover number 9, but he's a try scorer. George Horn is one of the top try scorers for his club. Kyle Steyn is a try scorer. Tom Jordan is a proper live wire, busting tackles. Darcy Graham, busting tackles, scoring tries. You've got a lot of guys in the squad, as it doesn't lack for kind of X-factor players. And you got, guys like Stafford McDowell, big unit who can kind of run it up the guts. He's got a big engine on him. The midfield is going to be tested with the likes of Hugh Jones and Sione Tuipulotu off with the Lions as well. I'm a little bit surprised that there's no Rory Hutchinson. I would have thought with the two guys in the Lions, that's a open door for him to go in there, but they've gone with McDowell, Redpath and Matt Curry kind of as the midfielders, which was a little bit surprising. And then I guess Tom Jordan potentially, if he doesn't play 10, slots in the midfield as well. So that was a little bit surprising. Fergus Burke is the only uncapped back amongst the lot. Again, he was another one of the ones who was in the squad for the Six Nations but didn't get himself a cap. I will be interested to see how Gregor picks the squad at 10 with Finn Russell being off with the Lions. Does he go with the live wire Tom Jordan? Because he's done good things in Scotland colours in that position before. Does he kind of revert to a kind of safer choice in Adam Hastings, or does he throw Fergus Burke into the deep end? I wouldn't have thought so, especially not for the Fiji game, which you feel like they're going to put out their strongest squad possible. Some really good attacking outside backs, like I mentioned, Kyle Steyn, Kyle Rowe. Harry Patterson's only a youngster, but he's looked good when we've seen him in Scottish colours. Ollie Smith is back in there as well. And as I said, Darcy Graham, he's actually the most experienced back in terms of his caps with 46. So again, 26 is the average age of the back, 17 caps. Not vastly experienced, but I don't look at the squad and think it is as experimental as we have seen in the past from Scotland. They've sent some really experimental squads to the Americas in the last few years. The fact that, Matt Fagerson's not getting a break after a lot of rugby that he's played, shows you that Kyle Steyn's playing, Stafford McDowell's playing. All these guys are here because I feel like world rankings points is honestly the target. Otherwise, I think they might go slightly more experimental. No spot for Ross Thompson as well, which is an interesting one. I guess you're kind of slightly spoiled for choice at number 10 at the moment in Scotland, which is not a bad problem to have. Mosese Tuipulotu, Luke Crosby, I think Dave Cherry as well were also earmarked as injury kind of concerned guys. It's interesting to see George Turner coming back after a stint in Japan. I think he's joining Quins, so he's going to kind of be back in the kind of local neck of the woods. And then Magnus Bradbury was a little bit of a surprising one, but I did read some comments saying that he's getting married over the summer, so maybe wanted to take the summer off. But yeah, that is the Scottish squad for their tour down here. I think they've got the tackling machine players in spades. I think they've got the X-Factor attacking backs in spades. The scrum is the main area I will be interested to see how they go. I think there's pretty good depth across the rest of the squad, even without Duhan and Hugh Jones and Sione and Blair Kinghorn and all these other guys. The fact that you can leave out Hutchinson is a kind of testament to the depth of how things are going. But you guys let us know your thoughts. Who are you most looking forward to seeing getting a crack of the uncapped guys? Do you think Scotland's expectations are to go 3 from 3? It's just going to be great to see them playing 2 games here in New Zealand, because the Samoa games is being played at Eden Park, which will be a fascinating one. But you guys take care of yourselves. Let us know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.